सर आपने पूछा कि हमने इतना सब ढूंढा कहाँ से। आपकी जैसी किसी शख्सियत को बुलाने में सबसे बड़ा फायदा ये है कि ज़्यादा ढूंढना नहीं पड़ता। यू कैन एक्चुअली स्किप योर रिसर्च व्हेन देयर इज सो मच ऑफ eruditeness to the work that you have done. It's truly a privilege to be here. स्पेशली आपकी किताब में एक जिक्र है महाभारत का, और क्योंकि जिस जगह पे आज मैं सोनप्रस्थ, आप में से यंगस्टर्स हैं यहाँ पे जिन्होंने उस वक्त महाभारत सीरियल नहीं देखा होगा और या इस लॉकडाउन में देखा होगा, मुझे पता नहीं आप में से कितने लोगों को पता है कि ये उन 5 गांवों में से एक गांव है जो पांडवों को दिया गया था, सोनप्रस्थ। और हमारे रास्ते में पड़ा भी, आते वक्त हम इंद्रप्रस्थ से आ रहे हैं, आते वक्त हमें बाघप्रस्थ पड़ा, हम सोनीपत में आ गए, तिलपत रास्ते में पड़ा जो कि अब ग्रेटर नोएडा है, और थोड़ी आगे पानीपत है। और कुछ बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट भी है इसके बारे में कि लोग पूछते हैं कि कैसे ये 5 गांव, जियो पॉलिटिक्स तब भी चलती थी, जियो पॉलिटिक्स आज भी है, उस वक्त बहुत कैलकुलेटेड जियो पॉलिटिक्स होती थी। हस्तिनापुर से ये सारी जगहें एक इक्विलेटरल ट्राइंगल बनाती हैं, so much so that Bagpat is nearest to Hastinapur and rest everything is in a arrow design. So everything is part of the design. It's great to initiate this partnership with Rishi Hood University, with City Book leaders, with you being with us. ऋषि हुड जैसा अपने नाम से ही बताता है कि इसमें ऋषि भी है और हुड भी है. So it has the power of the ancient wisdom that we had, and also the newness, the modernness that we require to excel ahead in the new world per se. So we are very thankful not only to you but also to Sahil ji for this opportunity, to Sampath ji for leading us, and also to Shobhit ji for providing us this opportunity, to every one of you for taking out time on a Sunday noon, especially after your possibly heavy lunch. So I'm assuming we will try to make it as interesting as possible, because this book is just not about business, it's about a lifestyle that you live. मैं इस सेशन की कार्यवाही और आगे बढ़ाने से पहले आई विल रिक्वेस्ट साहिल जी to share some of his thoughts on his perspective on what family managed business is all about. Is it? Yeah. And also, then we will set the context. He will, in fact, set the context for what we will discuss with Ajay ji from the book and also beyond the book. Sahil ji, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mohit ji. I won't take much time because we all have been waiting to hear Ajay Sharma ji. Why we started Rishi Hood University has a very close relation to what we are discussing today, because when we started, we thought what kind of an institution is required in this country, not just this country, but globally, and what kind of an outcome should we create in terms of our students, in terms of our research, our thought output. One thing was very clear, that the kind of challenges that the world is going through, it requires a lot of introspection onto what are the solutions. And we've realized that a lot of those solutions lie in the fundamental wisdom that is there in this civilization. To explore that, to untap it, and then to bring it to the new generation, I think that is some work that excites us, that we have been doing here. And when I got to know about Ajay ji's book, and of course, Baidyanath as a brand, we all have known, when we have some illness, we take their products. But the principles on which this book has been written, that resonates so well with Rishi, that the moment we got to know about it, we were after Mohit ji's life to organize this and bring Ajay ji here. And in such situations, events are not generally happening, but we are very thankful that this event could happen. Our students are here, some of our faculty members are here, some of the prominent family businesses from the city of Sonipat and surrounding areas are here. I'm sure that a lot of us will immensely benefit from this event. So I'll request, Mohit, you want to say something? Or?
We are eagerly waiting for Ajay ji to now take us deep dive in what made him write this book and why should somebody read it.
Okay, thank you everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you present here. First, let me thank the organizers and the founders and all of you for inviting me here. A special thanks to Sahil ji for actually making this happen and for actually converting such a beautiful dream, such a beautiful passion into reality. I mentioned this in my book also, that following your passion is also one of the greatest thing, and converting them into entrepreneurial organization is another achievement. So big pat on his back, and a very, very, very special thanks to Mohit to connect me with this August cohort. Well, to start with, my journey actually started with a very profound statement which I heard when I was only 13 years old. 80% of family businesses do not survive the third generation globally. It's a global phenomenon. It's not only in India. Shocking when you actually hear this for the first time. And to top it all, I was the third generation in my family business. That statement became a lot of burden on my young shoulders. We at Baidyanath, we are steeped in the knowledge and the tradition of Ayurveda. Along with that, from childhood we were exposed to a lot of scriptures, a lot of knowledge which exists in these scriptures, the wisdom which is around us in our culture. And I immediately drew a parallel, an analogy with the trinity of Hinduism: Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Mahesh, the destroyer. And my young mind said, am I Mahesh? Have I been born to destroy all this? What my grandfather created and my father preserved. And mind you, a business has to grow to be preserved. Then the logical side of my brain said, okay, 80% of the businesses do not survive, but 20 have survived. What did they do right? They must have done something right, or something right happened to them. This inquisitiveness, ye jigyasa, this made me reach out to a lot of family businesses around me. Because at that point of time, there was not much of literature available on family business. There was available on business management, but not family business. The lessons from my own journey, the observations of businesses around me, and finally studying more than 250 odd businesses, the knowledge I gained, I converted into this book, How to Thrive in a Family Business. So to start with, like talking about the book, it is highly important to understand what exactly is a family business. You must always know what you're getting into. So if two brothers start a business, it's not a family business. It is a mere partnership. Only when the next generation joins this partnership does the institution of family business take shape. Then only the business qualifies to be a family business. So, if the definition is so clear that a family business is only when the next generation joins it, it becomes very, very, very important to understand and manage the generational dimension. Very important. Most of us, we get busy with the finance or the marketing or managing the labor and all these things, but we always overlook the generational dimension. And that is actually the most critical part in a family business. So let's go back to the scriptures, because I'll keep going back in my talk about the scriptures. So in our scriptures, there is a mention about the 4 ashrams of life: Brahmachar, Grihast, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. I took these ashrams and I converted them in the context of a family business. And I devised a theory called the 4 T's of a life cycle. Of late, it's being talked about a lot, and it is becoming as close to the 4 P's of marketing, that I'm humbled to be able to, hear that. So I devised this theory of 4 T's, which is the life cycle, what every generation must follow. That's what I advise in my book. And every member of the generation, they must follow. And what is it? Training, transaction, transition, and turn in. So T1 is training, T2 is transaction, T3 is transition, and T4 is turn in. If every member and every generation follows this advice, he'll be highly successful in managing the generational dimension, because this is the foundation of managing the generational dimension. There would be other things too. So let's talk a bit about this. We all start our lives, we are sitting in T1, we all start our lives by training ourselves. We train, we educate ourselves, we gain knowledge, we learn skills, some soft skills, some hard skills. We, do our talent part. So everybody's journey starts off with T1. And then we see that it's a very natural progression. There is an urge to get into T2, the transaction mode. Everybody wants to just jump. Now I know. I want to go and just go out and perform, create wealth, start a family. These are the things of transaction, the grihast. Now, those of us out here, there are a couple of us like me who are in T3, the transition mode. There also we see that it's a very natural progression कि अब ये transaction से संन्यास में जाएं. It just flows in. It's very natural. But the biggest disconnect is where? T2 and T3. Most of us do not realize the dawn of Vanprasth. Now stop thinking about your parents and father and, oh yeah, that's what's happening in my business. That's not the intent. This is like serious stuff. Most of us do not realize the dawn of Vanprasth. And the ones who do are in a denial mode. When I talk to business heads, मैंने तो स्टार्ट किया है, मेरे बगैर ये चलेगा कैसे? या what am I going to do? मैं क्या करूंगा? Or I have seen they'll set milestones, impossible ones. इतना टर्नओवर हो जाएगा तो मैं छोड़ दूंगा, अगले जनरेशन को दे दूंगा. और अभी तो इतनी फैक्ट्रियां और लगानी है. There are millions of these questions. Believe me, these are just excuses. Because they are all about I, me. They are not about the business or the family. It's highly important to understand this part. So this disconnect is what we need to bridge by actually following the Vanprasth, the Sannyas, the Brahmachar and the Grihast in a proper way. That is the essence of this. Now, since I see a couple of faces that, what exactly. So since the study, what I did, I saw that the T1, T2 and T4 come very easily it is very critical to talk in depth about T3, the transition mode, the Vanprasth, because most of us, as we saw, we are in a denial mode. So Vanprasth can easily be done if you acquire two skills. So I'm not really talking to the students out here, but still they should know, because they would be able to advise their elders on what to do. There are two arts which you need to actually master the skill in Vanprasth. One is the art of giving and charity, which is charity. The other is art of self-exploration, self-fulfillment. India is a great culture. We all grow up with always giving away. We are taught to give away our toys, our clothes. On festivals, we are giving away blankets, blah, blah. On our birthdays, our mothers will say, oh, this will go to the orphanage, ye anath ashram jayega, ye chashaya home jayega. So we are always giving. We are a society which has always been doing that. But believe me, Vanprasth is not talking about this. This is giving away. What Vanprasth is talking about is giving back to society, giving back from where you got. And let me explain to all you people, please. Giving away stems from generosity, and giving back stems from gratitude. This art one has to know and learn. The second part is self-exploration. You have done enough. You have started an organization or taken care of it, the family, the business. Now it's time to explore yourself. Give back to you. Transition is the phase when you start to give back to yourself. This is the time for self-fulfillment. This is the time when you start to give back to yourself, you will actually reach the Maslow's pinnacle of self-actualization in sannyas. That journey starts from now. Otherwise, a part of the pyramid, you'll always be stuck in the middle. So these two arts are highly important. If we are able to manage them, we actually make a very successful transition of our family business. We actually learn to give away the business also. It's actually, in a way, I've taught that generation how to give away the business and give back to society and to yourself. This satisfaction is what takes them into a zone where they can be and be happy about it. So now coming to the book, those of you who will read it, you will see that I mention 30 actions which are the sins of a family business. ये पाप हैं. And I would like to just tell you a brief on that before we open the session, is that sin 1 and sin 30 are the eternal sins. This I have seen exist practically everywhere. Sin 1 is the elder son syndrome. And we suffer in India drastically. Drastically. India has always been an agrarian country, an agrarian economy. And agriculture is all about strength and muscle. The elder one, he grows up and he becomes the responsible one. Then we have been ruled by kings and queens for centuries. They also have the same law. The eldest male will inherit the throne. And we also have the HUF, where the eldest male child is the Karta. This is centuries of conditioning, centuries of conditioning. It's not easy to get away with. Centuries of conditioning. So while we moved from agriculture to business, our minds did not. And if you see today, it also becomes an easy way. Dimag nahi lagana. Not to think about the succession. Who's the right one? Whom to choose? कौन जोखम उठाएगा फैमिली से डिस्कस करने के लिए? Make the eldest one. We need to get out. You see, business is becoming so much more competitive today. You see these skills, you see such great places where children are studying such great value systems that you need to actually choose the best person to be able to operate your business. In my own business also, I'm third generation. We do talk about that. If there is no good successor, get somebody from outside. So the elder son syndrome has to be shunned away. It is sin number one. It's not at all compulsory that somebody, the eldest, has to run the business and then somebody from the family only has to run it. Right? Then we come to sin 30. I'm going to shock you a little bit more also. That is relinquishing ownership. By the time, so it shocks everybody because there's a lot on the media and off late of how the parents have been ill-treated and, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I say in sannyas, it is mandatory to relinquish ownership. Let us understand a point. In T3, you come and divide management and ownership. T3 is the time when you hand over the management. And believe me, management handing over is not a single day affair. We think, our parents think, I see my friends who are my age, it's a one-day affair. I tell them no. It's not the crowning of the prince. The way you spent X number of years in brahmacharya in T1, Y number of years in T2, you have to spend Z number of years in T3. So it's not a one-day affair. Don't get scared कि क्या होगा. आप हैं. आपको धीरे धीरे मैनेजमेंट आगे पास ऑन करना है. But the moment you come to T4, it's time to give over the ownership. And why? If you do not give the ownership away, you will never financially secure yourself and your dependents. Financial security in sannyas is the most important part. Only when you have to give that away, it becomes mandatory. Will you think कि मैंने अपने आप को कैसे सिक्योर किया और आपका वो हश्र नहीं होगा कि आपको निकाल दिया जाए या something like that. So this is the important part of sin 30. Then, as we know, that there are the cardinal sins in the Roman Catholic theology. 7 हैं sins, which are, so sin 2 to sin 8 are the cardinal sins of a family business. And that happens only in brahmacharya. And the way the cardinal sins are that they lead to all other sins. Similarly, in my book, those 7 sins, they lead to the rest of the sins. The rest of the 21 sins. Before I give the mic to all you people to, take the session ahead, I would still like to discuss one sin which is very close to my heart. Very close to my heart. Because in my study, I actually got, pinned there. And that I think is sin 29. Not having an exit policy. Understand this point. Most of the businesses, even outside India, I've seen, especially the third world, they do not have an exit policy. I have heard authoritative statements You are born here, you'll die here. Shocking, for me at least. Let's understand, why would a person want to exit a family business? A, his DNA may be different. And the business, what the family is doing, maybe he's not interested in that. And he says, hey, I want to quit this. This is not me. Or there may be an opportunity and he wants like capital out of it. So he wants to exit this business and take the capital and get on with his life. There are also a lot of cases where people cannot handle the pressures of a joint family. So if somebody is trying to exit a family business, do not trap him. Do create a fair and equitable exit. I'll take you back to, since he said ki Mahabharat, I'll take you back to Mahabharat also. By a quirk of fate, Abhimanyu, he learned the art of getting into the Chakravyuh. And when the time came, he did get into it. But unfortunately, alas, he died. Hearing that news, his father and Abhimanyu's uncles, they went on a rampage and they finished off the Kaurav dynasty. I sincerely hope, after reading my book, people do get an exit policy in their business, because I don't want that to happen to their family businesses and their dynasties. With this, I rest my case on that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Listening to you is like as if I'm watching the Netflix of your book. So it's fantastic. So I have some observations, sir, which I've actually noted, and possibly amongst both of you, because you both come from family businesses. Sahilji, I'm assuming you are the second generation, so you are still in before Mahesh role that you're playing, your role of the Vishnu. But certainly at age of 13, when you come to know that I am the one who's going to bring this entire 100-year-old remarkable business, and that too, while I was researching more about you and the business, sir, I saw some remarkable set of people who have always graced Baidyanath across this journey of the nation making. So while it's very famous nowadays of two Indias, I still see there is only one Bharat, the way we should look at it, as the value system of this country, which has kept so many businesses intact. And while you mentioned there are 80% family managed business in India, there's a fact that says that it's close to 95% if we include many other segments and domains of businesses, smaller businesses as well. So while 95% is a great number, and everyone who studies in this country will anyways fall into some or the other category of touching a family managed business. Either I will be in my own business, my father runs a business, I don't like it, I'll try to quit. Or my father grabs me and says, no boss, तुम्हें तो यही करना पड़ेगा. Or I'm a professional, son of a professional, joining a business, I may again touch upon a family managed business. So that's the overall universe which I'm trying to set, because I see a lot of youngsters here as well who might feel कि मेरा family managed business से क्या लेना देना boss, मेरा क्या business है, मेरी family अलग है, मेरा business अलग है. But let me tell you very, very honestly, in a couple of years in my career progression as well, almost everywhere we were actually working with a family business only. Somewhere or the other, the management was a family managed business. So you also should understand the intricacies of how a business is being built. The first question that, sir, I would like possibly both of you to in fact suggest is, you mentioned one of the things about the exit. And you also mentioned about the gap that comes in a generation, because a father, for example, let's take the example of Aisha. They transitioned interestingly well with a new age business that they got into from commercial vehicles. I'm just quoting an example here. But possibly they had some formula that they filled the gap well. Most of the businesses are not able to fill that gap, the transition of the generation, where the son wants to do something and the father says, नहीं भैया मुझे तो यही आता, मेरी दुकान में तो यही चलता आ रहा है, इसको तुम चेंज नहीं कर सकते. Where do you think the role of education, higher education, self-learning, swadhyay comes into the for the picture. This is a question to both of you and to also possibly some of the patrons who come from the side of the family businesses. That's my first question.
So if you see Mohit, uh, I have spoken extremely at length and highly about high education. A person is not complete without higher education. And it has, when I missed out on it at age 35, I went out and did it. So there's no better example or a propagator for one. See, you need skills. Gone are the days, the monopolistic times are over. Jo bana diya, wo big gaya. Businesses are becoming highly competitive. Opportunities are great. You have to have your skills. You know, I always say to the young generation, when we were young, we heard, oh, he's the jack of all trades. He's going to be good. Then was that, oh, he's a jack of all trade. You have to be master of one. Go and do an MBA, get a master of one. Believe me, from my experience, I'm talking, I am one of the key members in my family who took this business from being a third generation from 62 years to 100 years. You know, it's important to understand. Today, the time is you have to be jack of all and master of one. How do you get that? The environment around you. What better places than these? And keep studying all your life. I mean, you know, knowledge is never a thing you say, bahut ho gaya. You have to constantly do it. So I would always propagate that, Mohit. Over to you.
I totally resonate with that. In fact, the principle that we have adopted here is learning to learn. Because once we ignite the desire in a learner to learn, in fact, we don't call our students as students, we call them as learners. And there is less of a concept of teaching, but more of a learning together between the faculty members and the learners. So I think once we develop this desire of learning in the students, then automatically this kind of a journey from, and if we build that at this age, I think it goes on very well for rest of their lives, because the kind of things that Ajay was sharing, I think if the foundation is set right, then it puts us into that reflective mode when we enter the T3 stage. Otherwise, you know, it will take us a very long time to figure out those things, and it might be too late, you know, in the journey of a business.
Just a point more, because I do go and speak at a lot of the colleges. So one stage is for a young student to come to learn. That's the first stage. But a lot of time where we see family business classes or higher education, you have to unlearn to learn. Because if you sit there with a fixed mind, then you're not going to absorb. See, you have to squeeze out that sponge in your brain and make it fresh to be able to take in all the knowledge here. So it is very important also to be open. It's a way to say to be open in the classroom. You have to unlearn to relearn. Right? Thank you so much, sir.
आई थिंक वो जिज्ञासा जो क्यूरियोसिटी होनी चाहिए वो हमेशा उजागर रहनी चाहिए वो इट शुड नेवर डाई द वैल्यू ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी होल्ड्स अ लॉट आई एम वेरी क्यूरियस सर इन फैक्ट आवर डियर फ्रेंड मेंशन्ड इनिशियली दैट इफ इट हैज टू बी कंपेयर्ड विद मेंसा द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट कम्स इनटू माइंड अरे इतनी वैल्यूएशन कैसे बना ली व्हाट्स द जगलरी एंड व्हाइल यू हैव created this century old business, you have taken it ahead, and I also see a lot of diversification now happening in your business. If I'm wrong, you please correct me, but some very young age Ayurvedic businesses are now being created out of Baidyanath, where you don't even say they are Baidyanath businesses. Just shed some light, because it also gives a lot of perspective to possibly people like me who don't come from a family managed business. हम हमारा आड़त का business था लेकिन अभी उसमें नहीं है. We are not at all there. But there is a lot of diversification that you have done and possibly youngsters at your organization have done.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, sir, your name please? Okay, Kiranji. So, well, it is a great achievement to be able to create wealth. But we at Baidyanath, especially me, I actually say more than the monetary wealth, the dua, what we get because of this brand and what we do in the country is way beyond that. It is billions and billions of rupees. Secondly, Mohit, your question, we have taken a very conscious decision in the board that the new generation, which is standing at the threshold, we allow them and give them opportunity to leverage the infrastructure, the brand, and the finance of Baidyanath to be able to build beyond. See, again, it's on one side where we talk about trapping. Here, if you don't give opportunity to the next generation, and that's what I said, managing the generational dimension. You have, if you see, it's not only Baidyanath, a lot of other businesses, they start a family office. They create a capital there. They allow them to use their offices, their structures, their plants to let the newer generation. So it's a kind of a diversification mode, it's a kind of a growth mode, but it's all planned and structured. See, what this also does is that a lot of children, they want to do something else. So that was your last question. They want to do something else out of rebellion. No. So what we have done is that we said, you bring your project. We'll vet it. If it is commercially viable, go through. Don't try to start something out of rebellion. And then there is a timeline. Maximum 5 to 7 years. If you do not, then the family infrastructure is not going to support you. So if you can't do it, you may be having a good idea, get somebody else from outside with you, get a skilled person. But the aim is you have to be successful. I guess that's what.
So while listening to you, sir, I realize every process in the world has a similar journey. So you take the example of cricket. You come, you learn initially, you have a captain whom you report to. Slowly and gradually you skill yourself, you become the expert, you become the captain, and then you retire as well. You possibly become the coach. And later on you're just a cheerleader. You don't poke your nose into what is going on, but you are always there to advise and the right time when it is asked for. And I think that's what you are also trying to tell in this book. And across all processes now I can realize, while you just explained the four stages of ashramas as well, sir, and the purpose of them. My next question is again yet focused to a lot of youngsters who are here, who may join as managers, possibly a family managed business, and the decorum which is there. Usually what happens, a family is a close-knit thing. You have a dinner table which is at home, but the lunch table is very similar when you come to the business. And there are people who have joined as managers and they observe, they see कि यार ये वैसे तो इनका बेटा मेरा जूनियर है, मैं इसका मैनेजर हूँ, लेकिन है तो मेरे बॉस का बेटा ही ना. So I think there's a decorum which is also required. How do you think the family managed business can percolate this message that the things are very transparent here? Is it necessary? First thing. Also, few things that the manager who has joined from outside, he's also a pseudo family now, right? So how is this equilibrium so important? How does it work?
Yeah, Mohit. So I do not propagate a feudal system. People who do still live and operate in that kind of an environment, well, they are also drastically changing of late, I'm seeing. Because I can see the entire ecosystem is changing. And to understand the ecosystem of a family business, this book actually is important for all stakeholders. The people who are going to work there, the people who are going to work for them as agencies and heads, or even the vendors or dealers, any which way, consultants, you need to understand the ecosystem of a family business. Once you understand the ecosystem of the family business, these issues, ki beta and all that, they are actually on the sideline. Because actually when you get inside, we go there with this burden on our mind. But when you are inside, it's just like I am inside here. The equation here is different. I am not what I am. I'm here for a purpose. And I have to deliver that purpose. So even in family managed businesses, I guess that exists. So you have to, if you're aware of the ecosystem, you will not make that mistake of carrying a burden, a baggage in your mind, and then experiencing it or not experiencing it, but feeling it that way. I guess that's what it is.
Now, possibly I'll also ask Sahil ji on this, that how important it is for the son in a family managed business who's young, who has possibly done his professional course. And before joining the family managed business, he should take a mid-term crash course in another professional organization. How important it is? Does it help, or is it just for the sake of understanding? Let me go and explore the world and come back. What are your thoughts on this?
So I'm not directly involved in my father's business, so I'm not technically a second generation family business. No, I had to start something of my interest. But when I was in class 10th or 11th, I had a lot of curiosity in what happens actually in a business. So I would attend meetings with him. I would spend days in office, etc., etc. So that gave me a lot of that kind of an exposure. But I think in my case, the benefit was that I actually started working at another organization rather than getting inside the family business. So it helped me in my professional development beyond college. But I think that is very important. If that exposure is not there, perhaps the mind will be limited.
I think it's just an advice what you just heard from him, that if you come from a family managed business and you're planning, यहाँ पे कुछ भी हो यार, business तो है ही ना, कर लेंगे. So always figure out that mid path. Have a running pitch where you can quickly learn and also understand the professional side of it. Am I right, sir? Any of your thoughts on this? And then possibly some of the patrons who are also here, they
So,
may.
Mohit, every family is unique. What I have seen in my life, and each one of them, they have their own structures and what to do before you join a family business. So there are businesses in India who say that you have to go and work in a competitor's place in India or outside India. But you must know about the industry. There are people who say that you have to work within the organization from grassroots. I mean, I can quote that family. It is the Hawkins family. There they said, anybody, you'll have to start as a salesman. And a lot of the boys, they dropped out. So it was a natural way of selection of who is ultimately going to lead the company. So I guess, there are millions of ways. You have to sit down and see what works best for you.
I get your answer, sir, and it's perfect that always start from the lower ranks so that at least you empathize with others and also learn those skills that are required. Very, very important. I think now I would like to open the floor for all of us to get engaged, ask your questions if you have any queries. Feel free. Satya may help us with the mic.
Please identify yourself before asking the question.
अभी आपने एक बात कही बड़ी अच्छी लगी कि अगर आपकी फैमिली में कोई डिजर्विंग नहीं है, आप बाहर से कोई ढूंढ लो. ऐसा क्यों सोचते हो आप ये? अगर मान लो अपनी फैमिली में से किसी को चार्ज आगे नहीं दिया, तो वो क्या सोचेगा? आपने बाहर के बंदे को चार्ज दे दिया आपने.
ठीक है. So this is again, we are talking about ownership and management.
या
ओनर तो आप हैं. Ultimately, ओनर का क्या एम है? He wants that his income, his study income should be there and growth should be there. अगर मेरे ये काम करने से वो नहीं आएगी, so आप खुद बताइए. If you have to take that decision, ultimately when your business grows, you say यार अब ऐसा है कि एक CFO ले आओ, या अब यार मतलब बहुत बाहर गए, अब एक मार्केटिंग का आदमी ले आओ. It is the same thing. So slowly, see, it's on the scale of the business. As the scale starts to grow, you may have to ultimately bring in a CEO. I mean, I know businesses in Delhi who are now multi-crore. they even on the board, they have appointed their nominee. He will be able to talk the technical part and understand and come back and tell me in my house or in my office कि क्या बात हुई. मैं वहां जाऊंगा तो फंस जाऊंगा. So it is just, it is all, you have to see what works best for you. But these are all the options available in life. Don't get stuck कि इसका option नहीं है. मैं नहीं तो कुछ नहीं. That is, I think, the main thing.
Correct. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Aditya Kumar Dwivedi.
Afternoon.
I'm a student of the Heward University. My question is that I was listening very curiously to you when you were talking about the exit plan. So I want to ask that what is the correct time to exit from a business? If we talk about business, there are losses. So it is in the nature of business that it sometimes go in losses and then it revert to profit. So people even don't know what is the correct time to exit from a business. And if we talk about sometimes they do sell to another business, so they also drive it to another path. So how do we know it's the time to exit from a business?
Okay, Aditya, so in my book, the sin I talk about in family business, exiting the complete business is actually monetizing the business. I'm not talking about that. Selling off the complete business is actually a monetization exercise. What I'm talking about कि ये पूरे मतलब family में ताऊजी का बेटा एक है, उनके अगर दो बेटे हैं, one of them he wants to exit. Give him the opportunity to exit. It'll give you a leaner place. It'll give you more dedicated family members who want the business to move ahead. Otherwise, जो trapped है वहाँ पे, वो आपके roadblock ही होगा. He will always say नहीं, because he's unhappy there. So I'm talking about that exit, and not the monetizing of the business. That to one, there are 2 or 3 methods. I'm sure you'll study here also, that when to see that one needs to exit that business. So one of them is when you have another greater opportunity, always. The other 2, I'll leave for this place to teach you. Thank you.
So in fact, we are very keen to get this book converted into a course, sir, and we will definitely speak about it with your wisdom, and especially when it
Thank you
is
so
related
much.
to the ethos of Bharat. I think this is one book which is remarkable. I've read many other businesses, the family managed businesses, but the management theories that you have put in are very, very, I should say, we should be vocal for the local. That's what I will say.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Mohit.
questions that we can take?
Hello, sir. I'm Shobit Mathur, the Dean of the Rashtraam School of Public Leadership at Rishi Hood. So I want to understand from you, how do you see this going forward? I mean, so far, as the sir has said, about 80% plus businesses are family businesses. But given the sociological changes happening with smaller families, nuclear families, do you still think the family businesses would continue to thrive or not?
So there is now a great shift. Most of the universities are having now a business management program and a family business management program. The effort of all these places, these educational institutions, and my effort also, my contribution also is how to make this 20% grow to 25 or 30%. Because we all have understood the fact that 70% of the GDP globally, it comes from family managed businesses. And in India also, the figure says that we are at this average. But if you ask me, it's more. Except for the communist countries where it is all like government managed. But you have to, you see, economy, if it has to grow, and the way India is growing, if you do not look at the family businesses, if you don't help them to survive and grow, you're not going to be able to improve, So I am for this thing, one has to. And family, see again, everywhere across the globe, if you see, the top companies are all family managed business. All brands, even in India, if you see, except for a couple of Coal India and, these government ones and ITC and HUL and all. But the rest, if you see all, and I will tell you also, 80% of the employment is given by family business. So again, it has a huge contribution. It has a huge. I'm a propagator for that. This is the wrong person to ask.
So one thing that's just that came from Shobitji's suggestion or the question wrapped in a suggestion, I must say. What is the role of the early childhood value system that we build specifically in a family managed business? Because I saw a lot of your commitment towards that early child. You've given a quote from your own life, and you heard your father speaking to someone, and you have mentioned that quote. I would like you to actually tell about it.
So I do believe that sanskar plays a very major part, and there are people like him with this kind of an organization who have understood the gap. There is a gap which exists. I also meet a lot of students who ask me, if we missed out on our growing up, to main kya karu? Well, there's always an opportunity. There will be a Sahil, there will be Ajay, who are going to create these opportunities. They are going to give it to you. Sanskar is important. See, I'll tell you why. What exactly is sanskar? So my father used to always, he was a man who said, he knows my father extremely well. He's sitting here. He's met him. Like many a times, he's no longer here with us. He used to always say, he was very strong on character. Because he used to say that sow a thought and you reap an action. When you think about something, you'll go and do it. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Any action you do repeatedly, it becomes a habit. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. It's all connected. And believe me, sow a thought. Thought comes from where? From knowledge. If I'll just give you a very rudimentary example. If in your town you know that there is an Indian restaurant and a Chinese restaurant, that's your knowledge. So you'll say, आज thought आ रहा है, आज Chinese खाते हैं, आज Indian खाते हैं. It's based on your knowledge. So that'll become your action, and that'll become your habit and character and destiny. If you get to know, oh, there's an Italian one also, there's a Mexican one also, there's a Japanese one also, that knowledge is highly important to know what exists for you to be able to decide the thought process. Your thoughts are all based on what you know. So again, we come down to the knowledge being the core for everything.
No, sir, I think we'll have to go a step back, because if I know what to eat, but if I also know the doshas of my body, I know as per Ayurveda what to eat, right? So
I'll add something.
It's more knowledge. That's more knowledge.
This is so fascinating to hear from Ajay ji. So we have a course here called Sanskar Abhyas, which is a module for leadership. So in this habit formation, this is so critical, and unfortunately we are not teaching it so prevalently in educational institutions. But we kind of try to reverse engineer that. If ultimate objective is for a student to become a leader, that is the destiny. That destiny has to come from a character, and that has to come from some habits. So how do we? Goal is clear, but that path, to clear up that path, we need some habits, and that has to come from sanskar abhyas. So I think that's the kind of traditional wisdom that we have to pick up and then bring it to this kind of an opportunity. So we're very fortunate that you're a testimony of this being applied in real life.
Sahilji, there's a reason why I keep begging for a job here. Yeah, so you can know I have to actually redeem all my sins in the past, because I don't want to have 31st sin of not redeeming those 30 sins as well. So with this, if we have another yes, please, we have someone in the back.
A very good evening to you. My name is Bernadette Claire Namayaja, and I'm from Richwood, pursuing a master's in business administration, and I am from Uganda. My question is it necessary to buy shares in a family business? Is it necessary to buy shares in a family business?
It's again, it should be part of a plan. It's not a must or a no. Like I always say, you have to see your own financial planning. You want to buy into that or no? So don't just go by that this is said. The times have changed. There's enough data available. There is enough knowledge available. There is enough. See, Google has made knowledge generic now. It's no longer the prerogative of the intelligent people. It's generic. It's available for everyone. So what you want to do, I think one should always do the work. Is it going to lead to my goal? Is my goal going to be part of it, or be earning from it, or be investing in it, or it's a cause I want to fulfill? Well, or it is, I want to be, I don't want to be there because my DNA. I know a lot of people, who said that, oh, my father is into X like business, gambling or liquor, and it's not me. So I want to exit this. So buying into or exiting is absolutely your own choice, please.
Hi, good evening, sir. I'm Anuraj Antil. I run a construction company. I'm the first generation, and I would like to thank Sahil for inviting me here for the brilliant session. Sir, my question is, you said that rebellion is one of the major causes of next generation moving out of family business. And you said that providing them infrastructure for 6-7 years is a good idea. Do you think, if we are sure that it's a rebellion, out of that he's doing that, we should still provide him a structure?
So I said that always the idea of moving out is not rebellion. What I said is that it should not be rebellion. See, it should be either your passion or your opportunity. If you put that down, like to your elders, they will see sense in it. But they also know you as your son, as their son or their nephew, and they say this is out of rebellion. So I guess that like differentiation, the elders also know, you should also know. The young generation should also be aware that they should not be doing this out of this, because you are actually going to play with your own future, right? So I guess it's to do with the geographies and the growth. So obviously, as of now, if you see, the growth in India is all happening in the western side and the southern side. In fact, the north actually missed out on the industrialization time, and they just kept to agriculture, except for obviously Haryana and this part of it. But the rest of the north did. And the east has always been, it was the past, as they say. But I guess that's a part of the geopolitic thing. Answering to your question is that you will always see that plants also move out. Either you are big enough, like a Tata, to be able to do a Jamshedpur. But if you are not, you won't be able to manage a Modipuram, you move out. So it is, you have to see the smoke signals. What are the advantages of being located there? The geography always gives you an advantage. So the Allahabad plant was there because the mandi of Amla is Pratapgarh. And Pratapgarh Amla is considered the best Amla. And that is the secret of our Chyawanprash being way better than the others, because we actually claim पेड़ से पैक में 24 घंटे में. And if we put up this plant in Chennai, it's going to be 3 days of travel for that. And by the time it reaches, I'm going to lose a bit. I can do engineering, to improve it, but that's again cost. So as far as we are concerned, yes, we are in Allahabad. I do feel bad. I have seen these businesses actually be the top. And you spoke about AH Wheelers. And now they are like, not among the top companies, there. So you do feel bad. They also need to probably read this book, but I have spoken to them. They have been part of my study also. So I know their problems also. So a lot of the time these things, but we are there. Yes, we do have an advantage. And Mr. Nishchal here has been to that plant also. He's seen it, the entire thing. So, well, I would say here, Coca-Cola is in Cincinnati. I don't think so you have even heard of that city in America. So everybody, has an advantage somewhere. So, well, it's, again, I said I feel sorry for Allahabad since you are from there, but it's going to lose out, because education is all here, opportunities are here, and then यहाँ के खून में भी कुछ है.
Sir, Amitabh Bachchan will always remain to be in
Oh, yes,
for
that'll
Allahabad, so it cannot go out anyways.
Actually, I don't know how did she get to know about Sons and Sins, but that was the working like title for my book, for the same book. So when I think so, I headed out for the hills for about 45 days or a month, and that's when I structured the entire book, and I came up with this whole concept of having the sins there. And when I got back home, so my son asked me, Dad, what did you do there? So I said, well, I've completed this book, and here, read it. He said, I'm not going to read it. Just tell me, what's there. So when I told him the crux that I've come up with these like 30 sins, so he said, hey, your book should be Sons and Sins. So that's how it came. I said, hey, that's a nice word, yeah, a title for the book. So I put that down, but ultimately when Penguin picked it up, so they said, no, this is not a fiction. This is actually a business book. And a business book has to have the title what it deserves, which is How to Thrive in a Family Business. Thank you. I'm already under pressure, but I actually, the objective of this book was to actually make it reach out. I am actually keen this 20% should increase to 30%. How little bit I can do is through this. So yes, but you know how it is with writing. I mean, you people are with the education, you know how it is with writing. Yes, anything else? Create one. Okay, so Mr. Kushwaha, this book may be about the family business, but what it talks about, the 4 T's of life, it is for a family business and every professional also. If you go through the book, you will see, yes, this is how I would like to live my life. So, and why? The opportunity is always there. You are going to get educated here and start, you be the Brahma. Be the first generation of your family business. So yes, again, it's a passion, So there was a phase when the government said, well, you cannot take it out on the road. But I guess they have re-looked at the policy the way they are re-looking at many policies. And now you're allowed to keep
Cleaning the roads.
And so now you can keep a vintage car. It is official. And so there are a couple of checks and balances. And you cannot take it out on the road for a spin just like that. It has to be for a purpose. That's it. Thank you.
The enthusiasm for the Q&A is only an indication of how interesting this conversation has been. So needless to emphasize, you are a very articulate and extremely compelling speaker. I was diligently taking notes, especially about the 4 T's that you mentioned. I wish, just like C.K. Prahalad and Gary Hamel's core competency and Philip Kotler's 4 Ps, this also becomes part of management lore. So, quick round of applause for the speakers for a very, very interesting and engaging session. Before we wrap it up and call curtains on this talk, may I request J.K. Gargji to please give a small token of appreciation to Shri Ajay Sharma ji. Last but not least, may I request Shri Shobit Mathurji to please present a token of appreciation from the university to Shri Mohiji. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It's been a wonderful session, great insights for all of us. We wish you all a great Sunday and see you in the next series of talks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was
Thank you
about
very
to say
much.
that.
I just wanted to give one small anecdote. I met Mr. Sahil Agarwal about 9-10 months back. We had a 15-minute conversation. What began as a small conversation has led to my being here only because of the values and the fact that he walks his talk. And this is going to be an institution to reckon with. It's just a question of when and not if. Thank you.
Based on what Ajay ji has shared, I want to. So, I mean, you've through this 4 ashram or the 4 T's and the Trimurti, you've given us a dharmic framework of looking at a business. And as you said in the Q&A, it's not just a business, but also an extension of that thing to all, Vedic and all walks of life, all professions. So when we try to design our curriculum here, the pedagogy here, we take inspiration from a sutra by Chanakya, which I shared with you earlier also, and I think that becomes very relevant with respect to what Ajay ji shared. So when all of us are ultimately striving for happiness, sukh, so Chanakya reflects on this, that what leads to sukh, and he says, sukhasya moolam dharma, that a dharmic way of life leads to sukh. So the next question automatically becomes, what leads to dharma? And he says, dharmasya moolam artha. So I think the work that Baidyanath is doing and the way you have distilled it into this wisdom, I think that's truly a testimony of that sutra, that you create a dharmic lifestyle, a Vedic lifestyle, while also laying it on a foundation of creating wealth, not just for Baidyanath, but for so many of your employees. I heard that there are more than 5,000 employees working at Baidyanath, and by that extension, by creating health, by creating well-being for people, enabling them also to create wealth. I think that's a big service that the company is doing, and that cannot be put on the valuation numbers because that's immeasurable. Thank you so much for being here. It was truly an honor to have you. Professor Sampatji is a Sanskrit scholar and a professor at Rishiyut. We request him to take a photo. And we have Ajay ji's book available just outside the room, so would encourage all of you to take a copy.